Everyone, and welcome back to Chess Club. My name is Noel, and I'm here today to go through the deep dive deck profile of the Water Merlin list that I took to third place at Ascent Utrecht this past week in the Netherlands, winning this beautiful Gwendolyn, Spirit of Wind. It is the fourth and final event that she is legal at, or that she was given as a prize card for. And one of the cool things about this version of her is that they're using the new CPR foiling treatment on it. And so the colors and contrast on this card just pop even just that much more than in the previous versions. And it's just a stunning, stunning card. It's kind of hard to pick up on the camera. Here we go. So if you are an aspiring competitive Grand Archive player and you'd like to win an Ascent Spirit of your own, definitely go start the journey, place a bunch of games, learn the game, compete in Ascents, and you can win a Spirit as well. Shout out to NR for doing this beautiful art. And yeah, I want to go ahead and get into the deck profile here. So this is a deck that is very near and dear to my heart. It's the deck that I've worked on the most out of any list that I've played at an Ascent. That being said, this is not directly my list. This was very, very much a team effort deck by Chess Club. A lot of the lists we've played in the past have been primarily an idea started by one person, and they've been responsible for the majority of the deck. For example, like our Luxem list was almost entirely Pickle Sword's creation. The Fire Merlin list from Houston was primarily Burner's creation. But this deck is one that we've been working on since the release of Eventide Spear with Mortal Ambition, and so this deck's been in the work for about 3 months, and it's been something that we have all collectively contributed ideas for and iterated on and just tested a bunch, and so it has that special feel to me of a deck that I truly feel like I contributed a lot to in the building and development of. And so the reason the deck is good is it has a lot of very polarizing matchups. It has a lot of matchups where it's really, really good into, and a lot of matchups where it's pretty not good into. And the meta, we were just kind of like waiting for the right meta for this deck to kind of take shape. And with the rise of the mill strategies, particularly the Ari Mill deck from Santa Clara, this deck is just incredibly favored into those matchups. It is very, very hard for them to deal with the Majestic Spirit and actually kill you. And so that thing goes for like all the Nico variants, even like the Water Silvie Mill, like the more aggro variant of the deck. It's pretty hard for them to actually beat you. And similar thing with the Astro list also. Like, it's hard to get through the Majestic Spirit, and you can just play this long grind game where you get a lot of value out of Merlin. And so it was just a very well-positioned meta for the deck. And yeah, so I want to talk to the list, and like with all my deep dives, I'm going to talk extensively through every card choice. So this is not going to be a short deck profile, but if you just want to reference the link, there will be the shout link in the description below. Yes, playing Fragment and Spirit of Water with Spirit Fragment. Glimpse 6 is very good. And you don't really need the immediate draw 7. Even if someone just blows up your Fantasia, you don't really care. The value that you want is the Glimpse 6 in Advanced Element decks, just so that you can filter your hands, find your early influence cards, find the tools that you need for a specific matchup, which is especially relevant now with a lot of hate cards that you need to be playing for certain matchups like the Ari Mill deck or Nico or anything. The Glimpse 6 is just incredibly powerful. It's especially good in Merlin, though, because you get to get a level counter while on level 2, eat a float, and then just pop your Spirit Fragment early. You just get even more value that in this deck than in a other level 3 deck. They're playing Kongming. Again, so the reason that we're playing Kongming, number one is Mage bonus all the way up, because we got Rising Tides and Mnemonic Charm, just powerful like early mage spells that we can be playing in the deck, but also that we really want Shifting Currents in order to enable Coriolis Ward and Harmonious Mantra. So these are cards that are designed to be played with Kongming's entire lineage in mind, and they give you different benefits depending on what direction your currents are facing. Harmonious Mantra heals you for 3 plus your level if you're facing north, but only 3 in any other direction. Coilless Ward prevents 1 plus level damage no matter what direction you're facing, but if you're facing west, then that you get a draw card of memory. So in this deck, though, you pretty much just always stay north because it's combing bonus to spin the currents. So you just go to combing, you get your currents, and then you just leave it at north in order to enable your Harmonious Mantra healing. It doesn't really matter that Coilless Ward is now a -1, you just value that heal more than anything else. And then Merlin, we're playing a Merlin deck, so we have Merlin 2 and 3. Merlin remains as one of the most broken champions ever printed, just purely from the fact that she has 2 classes and she draws a card for free every their turn and gains permanent stacking levels. Permanent levels are a very like cornerstone piece of early Grand Archive game design. You can see it with Rai, you can see it with Merlin, and that they are switching away from this kind of mindset to then switching more to the empower mechanic for mages. But we still have Merlin, she still gains permanent levels, and though it's really, really powerful. And it just makes cards like Coilless Ward and Harmonious Mantra just that much more potent, because just the longer the game goes on, the better and better they get, and you can also still benefit from empower effects to buff them even more. Additionally, Merlin is extra good this format because of all these mill decks. You almost always get to eat a float with Merlin level 2, and eating float getting levels on Merlin 2 just makes your deck that much more powerful. You often even get to eat as much as 3 float against the Ari Mill decks. A common line is you'll be on combing level 1, DG to level 2, immediately eat a float, get a level counter, pop your Spirit Fragment. Next turn, play like a backup charger or a Tome of Sorcery, just to, you know, cycle your cards a little bit, build your influence, set up for a Ghost maybe with Tome. Then you're going to eat another float, so now you have 2 level counters. Then your next turn, you're going to wake up, level to Merlin level 3, banishing 3 cards. Purification is on the stack. You're able to tap Merlin, eat another float, get a 3rd level counter. Then your Merlin level 3 enters the field rested. And now then her effect will trigger, buffing you to 4 level counters, drawing a card at even. And now you're already level 7, and playing your Deer is super easy at this point, or you're able to Mantra heal for 10. And you're just kind of already taking away the game. If you eat triple float with Merlin into any of the mill decks, the game's kind of over. And then even outside of eating float, you can like banish Seaside Ringlingers before they're on Tamer and just get good value. Important to remember that she can banish any card, and also she does not target, so you tap Merlin, you say I would like to activate Merlin's effect, and you rest her. You wait for one has a response. If they play Lost in Thought to banish cards in memory, you then eat the Lost in Thought. If they play like a I guess that'd be the main kind of interaction for it. And then we're playing Majestic Spirit. This is like the reason to play the deck right now. Majestic Spirit plus Coilless Ward is just almost impossible for the majority of decks to actually deal with. A 10 health ally that has Intercept, True Sight, Vigor is already a pain. That gives your champion Spell Shroud and halves damage to your champion. That's absurd. Now give it an extra 10 health on demand from Coilless Ward, and it's very, very difficult to kill. Or if they do kill, it takes their entire turn to actually go through it, and the next year just play Deer again. And you are just incredibly ahead of the game. Pretty much any game that this touches the board, you are almost guaranteed to win. And then if you ever go to your next turn and recollect after this is on the board, you will win the game. I don't think I have had a single game this weekend where I played Deer, it lived the turn, and then I didn't win that game. That is just how powerful Spirit is in this current format. And now the reason that the deck kind of works right now, and the primary reason for playing Water outside Coilless Ward though, is for Eventide Spear. So this was a regalia that was released in Mortal Ambition, kind of specifically to help boost this like Water Merlin archetype, and kind of give Merlin more play outside of just fire. So this is a regalia. It's a 1/1 polearm weapon with class bonus Warrior. As long as your opponent controls 2 rested units, you may activate it from your material deck. So you go to Merlin level 3, you now get access to Warrior. They have 2 rested allies or a rested ally and a champion. You activate Eventide Spear, and I have a regalia on the board. Now you can play Ghost, bounce this to your material deck, draw 2 cards, play this again, play Ghost, bounce this, draw 2 cards, play Ghost again, etc. So it just fuels your Ghosts. It fuels that kind of crux game plan of, you know, you have a lot of cards that interact with your regalia, and just makes all those effects free. Additionally, because it is a 1 health polearm, you can break it whenever you want to in order to get an extra 1 level discount for your Incarnate Majesty, which is incredibly relevant and does come up very often because since we're in a water format, you need to be playing around a lot of, you need to be playing around double negate, like double Cerulean Decree, double Tidal Lock, something like that. And so that's just play Spirit while holding 4 cards left in hand. But if you want to play Spirit and protect it, that's play Spirit holding 6 cards in hand, because you have to have 4 cards to then pay for your negates through them, the 1-cost Coriolis Ward. So just the on-demand 1 discount can be very useful. You don't want to break it too early. It's a very interesting kind of like judgment call on when you break the Spear to get discount for your Deer, or when you keep holding it in order to be Recursive Regalia later. The next very interesting card that we are playing is Majestic Spirit's Crest. This is a Regalia all the way back from Dawn of Ashes. It was the Crux UR, and it has class bonus Warrior. Banish it. Your champion gains until end of turn. On attack, draw a card. So at worst, this card is just budget GCR. It's a 0 cost. You play it, you banish it, you declare attack, you draw a card. But the reason that we're playing Spirit's Crest instead of GCR, in fact, instead of any Divine Relic, we are not playing a single Divine Relic in our material deck. It's because we can use this to draw multiple cards, because we will declare attack multiple times. This is due to a card that we are playing that I'll talk about a bit later that wakes up our champion and just enables you to... This can draw you 2, 3, 4... This can technically draw you 6 cards in a single turn with the list as it's configured. I've never drawn 6 cards a turn with it. I think the most that I've drawn off of this is 3 or 4. I believe the most I ever drew at the tournament was 3. And it's just an incredible value engine and just much more impactful than Grand Crusader's Ring. That's also possible because we get Backup Charger as Grand Crusader's Ring as an early draw regalia if needed. That's even better because it gives you a power cell that you can fracturize as an additional +1. Then we're playing Alcahest. This is another kind of less common regalia. It's a cleric card, though it really just works best with Merlin, as it has its first on text doesn't matter. At the beginning of our collection, you get to put an age counter on a potion. We don't play any potions. But it has level 4+ banish it, destroy target item or weapon with memory cost 0 or reserve cost 4 or less. There are a lot of regalia in this format with memory cost 0 that are very relevant to destroy. For example, the main one that you want to blow up is Verdian Trinket. Again, you want to make it so that you can stick Deer. And so a Verdian Trinket, making your Coriolis Wards cost more, your Frostbinds cost more, any of your interaction pieces. It just kind of, it gets pretty awkward to play around, so if they time it pretty well. And so Alcahest just kind of removes that problem. There's a lot of times we just materialize Alcahest, and then you just let it sit there. And after someone plays Verdian Trinket, you just blow it up immediately. Or if they don't play Verdian Trinket, there's other useful things you can blow up. Like you go up against Astra, you can blow up Ingredient Pouch. You can blow up their Polaris to force them to pop it sooner. If your opponent plays Crystalline Mirror early, you can blow that up, and then you don't even worry about fracturizing your Lantern into the mill decks. There's just like a lot of play with it. Against other Merlin decks, you can blow up their Sword of Seeking. It's just an extremely flexible card that has like very high utility in this deck. Then we're playing Nullifying Lantern. You just have to play it in the current format. You want to shut off the extra damage from Icebound Slam. You want to make Tidal Locks cost 3 instead of 1. And then you also want to not get either decked out or make your opponent get infinite mills with their Polar Depths Fractals. So this card is just incredibly relevant. And then additionally, it's just a fracturize target for your Lantern. So you can just turn 2, or for your fracturize. So you turn 2, play Lantern, you fracturize it, you just got a free +1. That's pretty good. You're on this deck, you pretty much always turn 2, play Lantern or Backup Charger, and then ideally you have fracturize for then either the Lantern or the Power Cell, just to get even more plus. Then we have our other Divine Relic. We're playing Scepter of Lumina. This is just a free +1 that often does 4 damage into the water matchups. You only ever play it when you can play it while holding 5 cards in hand, so that you can just immediately break it and draw 2 cards if they try to fracturize it. Because if you play it and you have 4 in hand, they fracturize it, you traded a card for a Fractal, which is not a worthwhile trade. But you want to trade it 1 card for 2 cards. So the common lines to the water decks is you off-turn, Lantern, or Backup Charger, and you put a float into grave. You can banish the float to play Scepter. Or if you're at like 7 cards in hand, you play a Scry Disguise, puts it to 2 in memory, 5 in hand, banish 1, play Scepter, go to their turn, and you level up the 1 less in memory, and then you break your Scepter prereq to draw 2 more cards. If they Chilling Touch it, you're 1 card left in memory, then you can break Scepter level up, depending on what your hand is, or you can just off-turn again. It's not really a big deal. But yeah, you always play this and break it. You never risk letting it get fracturized. And then our last card is Tome of Sorcery. This is our other Regalia that we want to be recurring all the time with Ghost of Pendragon instead of Eventide Spear, because a lot of matchups right now, either they can play around Eventide Spear easily, or they don't even have the allies to play around Eventide Spear. Like into Arizona, for instance, you're never activating this card. It does nothing in that matchup. So you want to be recurring your Tome of Sorcery over and over with your Ghost. You're drawing a card every turn. It makes your Rising Tides +1 once you're late game, and then also the Empower just helps you with cheap deers. The Material deck is incredibly tight. It would be nice to have Viridian Trinket in here somewhere, like maybe you could cut the Alcahest, but for the moment, this 12 is incredibly solid, and I don't really think I would want to change anything in it. Yeah, this is going to be a long video. Going next, we have Ghost of Pendragon. It's the most busted main deck card ever made. 2 cost 3/4 that draws you 2 cards is absurd. With Eventide Spear, you can play multiple a turn. Round 3, I was playing against a Water Merlin player, and after my glimpsing, I had triple Ghost in hand, and I was just like, this game's going to be over. I got to level 3, had 2-tap dudes, I just played triple Ghost to recur my Eventide Spear, and the game's over immediately. 3 Incarnate Majesty. You just really want to see it. This is 1 card that if you see it in your glimpse, you always keep it, because if you do send it and you don't see another one, you just get hard punished. So yeah, this card's amazing. It's how you play Deer, obviously. 2 Cruxite. I would like to play more, but the issue is that you play Lantern, and you're playing Lantern so often that I actually cited this card out in almost every single game. Pretty much any water can play against you, cite this card out, because it's just now a Advanced Element Cycle card, which is good. It's nice with Stratus guys and such, but it's not amazing. But we still thought it was worthwhile to play it in the main deck, in order to make your Blessing Loops more potent. And so this is now the card that everyone had to read this weekend, Spirit's Blessing. It is a 1-cost fast card. With its initial cost to activate it, you return a material or Regalia you control to its owner's material deck. Most frequently, you're going to be returning your Eventide Spear. So the combo that you're playing this deck, which is pretty sick, is you're on Merlin, and you go to even level counter, so you're at 2 now. Then you're going to materialize, which takes Spirit's Crest. Or so you're on 1, you materialize Spirit's Crest, you go to 2 counters. You banish Crest, and now for the rest of the turn, Merlin gets on attack, draw a card. You activate Eventide Spear, you declare attack at your opponent's champion using Eventide Spear. On attack, you draw a card. Now before damage happens, so in damage step, you're going to activate Spirit's Blessing, returning this to your total deck as cost, waking up Merlin, and drawing a card. So now you've gone ahead and you've drawn for Crest, then you draw for Blessing. Now you're going to activate Spear, declare attack, and you're going to draw another card. So now you've drawn 3 cards. Then you're going to play Blessing, and you're going to wake up, and you're going to draw another card. And now you're going to play this, and you're going to declare attack, and you're going to draw another card. And you're going to Cruxite, and you're going to add back a Blessing, which draws you a card. And then you're going to play the Blessing, which wakes you up and draws another card. And so you're just going to go through loops like that. And you can go anywhere from like +2 to like +7 that turn, which is really, really crazy. I think the most I ever got in the tournament was +3, because I always had Lantern out, so I was never able to do the Cruxite with Blessing Loops, and that's just been on how many blessings you have. Each one is a +1. You're playing Spirit Blade Ascension, basically. We're playing Avarice Merlin, which is very, very cool and pretty broken. But yeah, so that was one of the realizations of the deck that kind of helped push it to be that much stronger at influence gain, because you're just not as reliant on seeing your Ghost of Pendragon in order to build influence. And then the other thing is that it's also a burst damage tool, because you can use it to play multiple attack cards a single turn, or even just like going face. You just attack for 3, you attack for 3, quote unquote, then you bounce it so it comes in for 2 damage. Yeah, because you're uneven. So then, even though you return your Regalia, each hit's still doing 2 damage from the Merlin trigger. But yeah, so Spirit's Blessing was an absolutely amazing card the entire weekend, and just very, very cool. Going on to now our pseudo Crux cards for Coriolis Ward. Again, Deer with this is just incredibly hard to remove, and everyone was kind of shocked that you could protect any unit, not just your champion. So yeah, have fun killing my 20 health deer or my 30 health deer if you have double. Yeah, this card's insane. And then we played 2 Harmonious Mantra. We want to be able to cash in even more on the extra life total, and this card is exceptionally good versus Nico. Just setting your life back to 0 makes it very hard for them to actually kill you. I played this very, very often for anywhere from like 8 to 13, and it just kind of like, it just resets the game. It puts you back in position to just very easily stabilize, which is very useful if you're not able to like stick a deer immediately. You can just play a mantra to offset like a turn of damage and just kind of like set yourself up for winning the game. And then we played 2 Mind Freeze. This was our other like level payoff kind of like pseudo crux card. I only resolved this card 4 times the entire event, but pretty much 3 of those times I played it and then I won the game, and the 4th time I should have won the game, there was a game state error that I ended up losing the game, but basically my opponent had Lantern on the field and he played Slime King to get back his, because he used all the Storm Slime, so he got back a Storm Slime and he cremated it to win the game, which is not a legal play. It was not a malicious action. I genuinely do not believe that he was trying to cheat at all. It was just a mistake. It was the end of the tournament, end of day 1, like, no worries. It was something that we realized in game 2. I ended up winning the match anyways, so luckily it didn't end up mattering. But that was the one time where like Mind Freeze didn't actually win the game, but it was a game I should have won, and because of Mind Freeze is how I was able to get to that point. So it's just Time Walk that gives you perfect information. I think the highest I played it for was for like 8 or 9. You can often play it on level 2 also. You're on Merlin 2, you have a level counter, you sack no amount charm, you Mind Freeze for 5. Is just very, very powerful. Then more of our Pseudo Crux cards. We're playing 3 Cone of Frost. This is our damage source. It's just 2 cost, 6 damage. It's sort of like Fireball. We didn't want to play Imperial Steel Fireball because it just like limits you to a single turn. It's just kind of reduces your options rather than increases them. Whereas this card, you can play it early as removal or it's damage late game. So we just like this card a lot better. Then we play 3 Sudden Steal. This is your other main source of damage, and with Spirit's Blessing, it's a way to do burst, because you can like Sudden Steal, Spirit's Blessing, Sudden Steal, and that's 14 damage. 15 with Eventide Sphere, so that's a big chunk of damage, and you can kill people surprisingly quickly. If you just like have some of your pieces, you level to 3, you just go Sudden Steal, Cone of Frost, hit you with Ghost, I win the game. Like that right there is 19 damage. Or, no, that's 16 damage, sorry. But yeah. So you can get some very, very, very quick wins with this. And then the last damage card I played was 1 Nascent Blast. The idea was that it's sort of like infinite damage, quote unquote, because you just empower it every turn with Tome of Sorcery, it returns to memory, you play it again, you do another 3. It was mainly for the Astra matchup, just the extra chip we thought was going to be kind of relevant there, and we just had 1 extra slot in the main deck. It was okay. I played it once, and I just played it to ban out a Cerulean Degree. Every other game I decided out or banished it. So you don't need to play this, but it was cool. I wanted to play my CPR, but it was then very warped and I couldn't play it, which is kind of sad. For Frostbind, this is your primary answer to Icebound Slam. Against the Ari Mill decks, you're just going to be digging hard for this card, among other things. And so, yeah, because they tap it to play Slam, you Frostbind it, you're up in tempo. Or not like up in tempo, really. Sorry, ignore that statement. But you shut off the immediate value, and then you play Lantern, and now if they do have a second Slam, you're only taking 3, and you're just kind of well set for the rest of the game. It's also then a very flexible card, like we don't all main board Song of Frost, because that's only good in some matchups, but Frostbind is good always. And it interacts nicely with like Mind Freeze, like you can make your opponent just put down extra cards, so that your Mind Freeze hits them harder. And Frostbind is just, it's good, it's Frostbind. Yeah, Frostbind was great. Another card everyone had to always read was for Freeze Stiff. This card was phenomenal. So if you don't know what it does, it's a 3-cost fast mage spell with rest up to 2 target allies. If either of them is attacking, you end the combat phase. And class bonus, those allies don't wake up during the controller's next wake up phase. So it's sort of just like a 2-turn Resolute stand. You lock down 2 biggest allies for 2 turns. It's super good versus slimes. It's great versus like Frostborn Paladins, versus allies, water allies. It's like the only thing that can let you potentially win the game, just survive long enough. You can use tap down Taunters. But then the other huge thing is just sets up and enables your Eventide Spear. So if they're trying to play around Spear, like one time with one dude and passing, which is often like the correct play for slimes to do into you. Freeze Stiff just says, I don't care, I don't take the damage, I rest your other dudes, and now I have Spear for 2 turns. Is just incredible. So this card was absolutely amazing. And it's cool because it's Merlin on it. And then our other water card that has Merlin on it is Fracturize. This card, again, it's Fracturize. It's just a great card. It's essential right now for Fracturizing your Lantern. Just to make it very difficult for the water decks to remove it. They have to have Sideboard Purifiers or the Vanitas Scatter package. Or against Dusk Lights, but like no one's playing that. And then it still is like a very useful offensive tool, shutting off enemy regalia. And it's a +1 for your own influence lines. So this is like another card that you always want to be glimpsing for and seeing. So we have influence lines, now have the leveling package of the deck. For Dungeon Guide, even though Frozen Dismissal is a card now, this card is still amazing. You just have to be wary of Dismissal and play around it. Same with your Ghosts. Like, you never play into Dismissal. You almost always play this when you have like 5 or 6 other cards in hand, which you get to pretty easily from Backup Charger and Scepter. And you like your off turns. It's very easy to just play Dungeon Guide and still be holding 5 or 6 cards in hand, and it'll just like let it resolve, which is pretty good. So yeah, Dungeon Guide's great. For Mnemonic Charm, this is like one of the best cards in the deck. You want to see this every single time in your glimpse. You never send it off your glimpse. It makes your Deers easier to play. It makes your defensive cards hit harder. It lets you cone earlier as removal. It lets you Mind Freeze earlier to rip their memory. It cycles through your deck. It's technically also a fracturized target, but you basically never do that. This card was just phenomenal. We play 4 Rising Tides. Another thing that Mnemonic Charm is good for is just letting you do this level 1. Though you really don't want to. You just want to save your Charm, get to level 2, and eat a Float to enable your level 3 bonus. But if you have to, you can. This card is just Creative Shock. It's a free +1 in the deck. It was excellent. Late game, use it. You just loop it with your Tome of Sorceries to get free value, and it's just quite strong. One of their main reasons that like we can kind of play a water level 3 deck is because we have this built-in +1 option. Then we have 4 Fast Cure. This is another one of like the best leveling cards level 3 decks right now. Neutral damage removal is incredibly potent. And this like offsets half their slam. So if you don't have Frostbind, this is like the second best answer, quote unquote, to the slam in the main deck, because they slam you. You take 8 when you heal back 4 of it. It's kind of like you had Lantern on the field. And yeah, it's just a very, very, very good card. And you can pretty reliably resolve it in most matchups, which is nice. And then we have 4 Scry the Skies. This card is just excellent at all stages of the game. You can play it into water decks on your turn 2, or I guess your turn 1 if you're going second, because you just play it and you still have 5 cards in hand. Now you can Scepter, and you can still break your Scepter like I was saying before. So it just enables those lines, and then late game you like Scry for 6, Scry for 7, Scry for 8. I think I even Scryed for 9 once. It just like lets you rip through your deck, find the pieces that you need, get all the other kind of junk stuff you don't really need at that stage of the game to the bottom. Just incredibly powerful. So now lastly we have the Sideboard. We are playing 3 Dusklight Communion with both an Astra and an Umbra card for it. So the reason for this is that we wanted to play Dusklight plus Umbra for Slimes. The Slime matchup is a bit tight. It's generally favored even without the Dusklight, but Dusklight just helps improve it that much more. Being able to prevent them from attacking with their dudes just makes it their only way to kill deers with their like Storm Slime effects. And so then with Chorus War, they're just never killing you, and just lets you survive those like first few turns of burst. And so since we were already playing that, we figured we might as well also play the Astra card for Fantasia removal, because we want to play Fantasia removal, and Purifier is dismissable. And so, like, that's a 9 influence play to play Purifier and holding up the cards for dismissal, which is just very impractical compared to this, which is a 4 influence play, 6 to pay through Sterling Decree or Frostbind or whatever. In practice, this sucked. I never sided in. I played against 6 Nico decks, 2 Ari Mill, and a Water Silvie allies, and I brought this in 0 times. The idea was that you would like blow up Fractal Brains or blow up Penguins once they brought in Fantasia Hate, but you just never wanted to make your deck worse because you just don't have like the room really to side it out. It still is good for Razor Gale. Just blowing up early Gales is strong, but this was like the worst card in the sideboard. I literally never use it, never wanted to use it, even for the matchups that we intended to be using it for. And then we played 3 Song of Frost. This was for all the slam decks. We just wanted to increase the number of answers in our deck, so you go from 4 Frostbind to 7 with 3 Song of Frost. And also versus Nico, just being able to shut off Ravishings just makes the matchup that much safer. Nico's your best matchup by far. And this just like helps really, really even up and just make it almost unlosable post sideboard. Then for the last 2 thoughts, our sideboard, we had 3 more cards just like boost the ratios of things. We had a 3rd Mind Freeze. This is mainly for other level 3 decks. You bring this in because if you just ever hit them with Mind Freeze looping, you win the game on the spot. Sudden Steel, we just wanted potentially more damage in some matchups. So we had one of these. And we had 1 Harmonious Mantra. This is mainly for Nico. Just like, again, you really want to see this just to heal yourself back down to 0. It's also good versus Razor Gale. Realistically, I think I'd probably want to find room for the 3rd one of this in the main, and maybe even the 3rd of this in the main, or one of these. It was kind of just like ratio tweaking, because like some matchups free stiff isn't good, some matchups, you know, you might not, like you're taking out your Crux Sites, or some matchups your Mind Freezes aren't good. So just be able to tweak around some of these tools, just to help kind of pad out with your stuff that you're setting in, is why we were playing these. So that's the deck. I talked through, I think, everything pretty in depth. I guess the other thing that I would like to mention is for your glimpsing, you're basically always looking for these cards. These and this. This is what you're looking for with your glimpse, pretty much. So you always want to find Dungeon Guide because it's Dungeon Guide. You always want to find this because it's a guaranteed +1 with your off turns. I would only send this versus aggro. You always want this card because it's your best turn 1 play. You always want this card because it's another +1. You always want this card because it's relevant to your end game plan and you can't really risk not having it. Things like Ghosts you have to send just so you don't Crux Brick, which is a bit unfortunate. And then also versus the versus slam decks, you always also need to find Frostbind. Just like this is what you're mainly looking for. In some match, like versus Nico, like you can maybe keep a mantra game 1, just because like you don't know if you're gonna be like if someone down there one's like kind of far through the deck. I'd only do it if the rest of your hand was like you've already had a lot of your other stuff that you needed though. If you're looking for things, you'd send this. But yes, this is mainly what you're looking for with your glimpse. That's a very common question that gets asked. So yeah, that's the deck. It felt super good the entire weekend. It was the absolute perfect meta call for the event. It was a blast to play. I had a lot of fun. If you want to see how the deck plays out, I played on stream twice. I played on round 6, day 1. I played against Sebastian. He is a very good player from Southern California. He was playing Tamer Nico. And then I played day 2 in the top 4 against Ferenthian. He's an excellent player from Washington and a good friend. And that match was excellent. He was playing technically also Tamer Nico, but it was basically the Water Silvie deck with Sideboard Nico and Ravishing Finales for other matchups. Thanks everyone for watching. I hope it's informative. Feel free to ask any questions in the comments below, and we'll do our best to answer them. And I look forward to seeing anyone at Ascent Seattle in HVN format. That should be pretty fun. All right, take care. Have a good one. Be kind to each other.